Hey guys, and welcome to the 27th installment of Updated Builds, a series of videos where I go back over Warframes that I already made one or more videos about and I bring their builds up to date. Now today we're going to take a look at Octavia, where I only use one build that I like to call the Maestro, which is a quality build that has a little bit of everything, which is kind of what you want to do with Octavia. You don't necessarily want to specialize her towards a certain ability, because all her abilities just work really well together. Alright, so the ore I'm using here is Energy Siphon. You can run something like Erosive Projection, but it is very much not necessary because the damage our mallet can do is absolutely mental, so the extra energy is definitely really nice. Then I decided to add Redirection to the build, and you can use Vitality, Primed Vigor, or even Quick Thinking if you would rather have that. Because I was running into some issues, mostly with the Grenier, where I would just randomly die even in stealth because I would get hit by the splash damage from bombards or napalms as they were firing at my mallet. This also has the added benefit of making you a lot beefier in general, so if you're running something like an Exterminate, you don't have to be in stealth all the time. After that, I'm using Primed Continuity and Constitution for a nice chunk of duration, so my abilities last about 30 seconds, which is more than enough. Cunning, Drift and Stretch for some range. This is mostly for Mallet and Amp, so they cover a decently sized area. Then I'm using Streamline for some extra efficiency, otherwise the full combo gets way too expensive. Then there is Primed Flow, which allows me to bank a ton of energy so I don't have to worry about it too much, and it's also what allows you to run Quick Thinking if you don't want to use Redirection. And to top it all off, I decided to go with Intensify and Transient Fortitude for more power strength. However, you don't really need power strength for this build, so you can easily take these two mods out and put in more range, more duration, more efficiency, or even more tankiness. It's kind of up to you. Now when it comes to Arcanes, I would very much recommend Arcane Energize. It's what I would run if I had it, because it gives you a 40% chance to restore 100 extra energy to you and nearby allies whenever you pick up an energy orb. This is really good for a power-hungry setup like this, where energy is everything. But it's not mandatory, you can easily sustain this setup with just Energy Dash from the Xenuric Focus School. Now the gameplay here is very straightforward. You basically just want to keep all 4 abilities rolling at all times. The way I do it is I pop Metronome and teabag a little bit to get the invisibility, then find a nice spot where I want to fight the enemies and throw down her first, second and fourth ability as well. And that's it. From that point onwards, you basically just want to refresh the abilities when they're running out. And as you can see over here, the full combo is super effective. It's even better than it used to be, because back when Octavia first came out, if your mallet got picked up by the Resonator, enemies would stop shooting at it, so it would not do any more damage. But that's now fixed. Enemies will still shoot at the mallet even if it's rolling around on the Resonator. It makes the gameplay a lot smoother because you no longer have to throw down your mallet and then wait a little bit for the enemies to shoot at it and charge it up and then use the rest of your abilities, and you can just use them whenever they're running out. Which in the case of the first, second and third ability will be at the same time because they have the same duration. I think this setup is really cool. It's very flexible when it comes to mission types because you can easily farm survivals with this and basically keep going for as long as you can manage your energy, because that's the only thing that's ever going to stop you if you run out of energy and just die over and over and over again and run out of revives. The same goes for defense, because on top of doing a ton of damage with your mallet and amp, your Resonator, the little roly ball, will also taunt enemies so they won't shoot at the cryopod, you or your allies, though this gets a little bit iffy when the defense is taking place on a big tile set, because the Resonator has a tendency to just go on an adventure and leave you alone. You can also use this as sort of a ghetto focus farming setup, though out of all the focus farmers that I've tried, and I've basically tried all of them, this one feels hands down the worst. It's just very fiddly. You have to keep an eye out on your Metronome and the invisibility buff from Metronome, and you have to teabag when it's running out, and then you have to side attacks. It just doesn't feel very good. And the addition of Redirection into the build, or Vitality, Primed Vigor, Quick Thinking, whatever you want to run, means that you can sort of go in guns blazing into mid-tier missions without instantly getting shit-faced, and you just use Mallet, Resonator and Metronome. So as I've said already, I think this setup is really cool and I would definitely recommend you give it a shot. Which is why it's such a shame that I will never use this setup outside of making a build video for it, because as someone who plays an instrument and has pretty good rhythm, because I used to be a drummer back in the day, Metronome is the worst. It's the same issue that I've had with the basic playlists from Guitar Hero games. I'm always split second too early to either crouch for Metronome or strum a note for Guitar Hero. And it's infuriating because I know I'm on time. I get into the rhythm and I start crouching and strumming, and I always miss the notes because you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to read what's going on the screen, process it in your brain, and then perform an action, which means there is a bit of a delay and they have to account for that delay. But if you're like me and you're following the rhythm rather than what's going on the screen, you're always going to be split second too early, and it triggers me so flipping hard. I just cannot stand it. It's a silly reason, I know, and I also know that I can adjust to the delay because I did with the Guitar Hero games, but I just don't want to do that every time I play Warframe. But anyway, I think I've been rambling for long enough, so if you want to try this build out, but you're not quite sure how to set up the forma yet, the best way to do it, in my opinion, is to simply put on all the mods, and if they don't fit, look for the one with the highest capacity drain that's shared between all your builds, forma for that, and do that until all the mods fit. And I thank you very much for watching. As always, guys, I hope you've enjoyed the video and it was helpful, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.